Hello YouTubers, Alaska Prepper here. Happy Saturday, ladies and gentlemen. I hope this brings you to an understanding that when the worst of worst happens, you have yourselves, your community, and hopefully your church to count on. But never ever, ladies and gentlemen, count on government to bail you out. I do have an X account, normally known as Twitter. I'm not active on it at all, but every once in a while I get a push notification on it, someone sharing it, etc. And I haven't really been active on YouTube this week at all, but I thought that I'd go ahead and share this story with you, ladies and gentlemen, because in my opinion, it's pretty disgusting. Let me go ahead and read this for you because it's going to awaken you to the fact that you have yourselves to count on. Now, before I continue, towards the end of this video, I'm going to share with you a few great pre-Prime Day sales that's going on, and I'm also going to go ahead and leave the link to all of my partners who are having Prime Day sales, so you can take a look for yourselves in case you're in the market for any one of those things. But that'll be towards the end of this video. This is very important. This post was put up by a person called Ryan Tyree, and it reads, it's a little bit long, but stay tuned because it's well worth it. It reads, if you are wondering why citizens are being turned away that are coming to help North Carolina and Tennessee, you'll want to hear my experience as someone who has been doing this as a private citizen for almost a decade. I was able to get into and out of Asheville. We brought food, water, fuel, and other supplies, as well as help people affected by the floods. But there are reasons why they are not allowing outside help. And when they say they mean the federal government in collusion with the local authorities. I cannot confirm the reasons why in North Carolina, but I can tell you the reasons in other storms I have worked, and I'll explain below. He continues, let me share with you the first disaster area that I finally realized that this was all about money. All about money, ladies and gentlemen. It's not about you. The only thing that you are good for as a citizen, as far as the government is concerned, is that you are a milk cow that can still produce milk. Once you can't produce milk anymore, that's it. They're done with you. In the Florida Keys with Hurricane Irma, after Texas got hit with Harvey, we finished our efforts in Texas and were the first citizen team to make it to Key Largo. The federal agencies had US 1 shut down just south of Key Largo and wouldn't let anyone in or out, even though the road was okay to pass. Now, why would that be? Why would transport or travel be restricted on an open road that's not affected by the storm? We explained to them that we had boats, jet skis, food, water, chainsaws, and fuel to bring to these people. Now, when they told them that, the local authorities must have been elated. They're like, oh, really? You have all that stuff? Well, come on in, we'll help you. But that's not the case. They didn't care and would not let us in, he says. It was night by that point, and you rarely saw the lights of vehicles in the distance on the individual keys, meaning the emergency response teams from FEMA weren't even working. It was all quiet. We decided that we would go in anyways. We filled up the boats and jet skis with all that we could reasonably carry and went by water around all their BS blockades and around their law enforcement presence on the water. And that, in my opinion, is what I believe that we ought to do en masse. When something like this happens and they're holding up progress for political or bureaucratic reasons, the citizens should say, no, we're coming through anyways. And any sheriff or law enforcement that gets in the way of that, unless there is a real threat to safety, they should be taken out right away. Taken out, I mean taken out of office, ladies and gentlemen, right away. You should not put up with that kind of stuff. He says it was 87 miles by water to get to our first stop. Let's see, Cudjoe Key and Sugarloaf Key. When we arrived there, we were greeted by a homeowner, and for privacy, he's not going to name the person, but he has proof with video, he says, who was elated to see us all and the supplies we brought. His house was in shambles. We started offloading supplies on the shoreline and helping to get them into what was left of his house. During that process, he explained to us that FEMA had set up a command center at a local high school on the island, but that they weren't doing anything to help the residents, not even bringing them water. Instead, he explained that they were driving around using a loudspeaker telling people to stay in their homes. They weren't even helping the homeowners with supplies. What is FEMA for? Well, people thought that FEMA was supposed to be there to help citizens of the United States of America during times of disasters. But ladies and gentlemen, maybe that's not what they're for. And we'll read on and you'll see what I mean. And here he continues by saying, I was skeptical at first while he was telling me all of this, but then he said something that broke my heart, and this should break your heart as well. That this, ladies and gentlemen, is what's come of the United States of America, where we are supposed to stand up for each other, and law enforcement and bureaucrats from Washington supposedly are supposed to be there for the good of the people. He told them that the people of the Keys were all in despair because they had just seen weeks before the overwhelming support for Texas with Hurricane Harvey by the citizens of this country, meaning that he saw the support that all of the citizens poured into Texas after Hurricane Harvey. He and his neighbors on all of the Keys felt like Americans have forgotten about them. All right, I'm going to try to read this for the third time without letting emotions get in the way. He and his neighbors on all of the Keys felt like Americans have forgotten about them completely, because at this point, 5 days after landfall, all they had seen was FEMA, and they were of no help. The residents were cut off from the outside world. No cellular, no internet, no way to contact anyone or hear of any efforts to try to help them. The only communication they had was from a local radio station on Sugarloaf Key that was broadcasting on AM to the surrounding Keys. So this person and the people of the Keys thought that America had abandoned them. Imagine that, ladies and gentlemen. How would you feel if something like this happened to you? And your government, who's supposed to be there to help you, is spending all of your wealth, all of America's wealth, on other nations and people that aren't even supposed to be here because they got in here unlawfully. But I digress. Let me go ahead and finish reading this. The man, after hearing that there were citizens trying to bring them help, but being refused entry by federal law enforcement, was visibly upset. He and his neighbors really thought that the country had abandoned them. He insisted that we get into his waterlogged truck and that he would take us to the radio station so that we could go live on air to tell the citizens trapped in the Keys that we, the American people, were there to help and the government was trying to stop our efforts. And that is exactly what they did. After that, we were determined to help as many people as we could, but we were met with red tape throughout the whole process and time we were in the Keys. We finally were able to talk to some authorities to let us down to the Faro Blanco Resort in Marathon toward the end of Boot Key. This was the same hotel where state and local authorities were staging their personnel, and they were happy to see us. I was able to coordinate several trucks full of supplies to be brought down to the EOC in Marathon. I was privy to the EOC meeting, but was informed in that meeting that all of these semi-trucks full of food, water, and hygiene supplies were to be turned around and not allowed to be offloaded for distribution by the EOC. Now, why would that be? They have all of that help right there. Why can't they use it? Well, the conclusion will let you know why. The reason they gave us was that these donations were not from companies on their preferred vendors list, and that they would not accept them or give them to the residents of the Keys impacted by the storm. Do you understand that, ladies and gentlemen? Maybe you understand now why it is that they were not allowing any goods, any help to get in to help the citizens. It's because the companies that were on the preferred vendors list, the companies that the government said, you guys are the ones that are going to go ahead and make this stuff to distribute. You guys are the ones that we are contracted with. You guys are the ones that are going to go in there. I wonder how many of these senators and congressmen hold stock in these companies. I just wonder, me thinking out loud. It was at that point that I realized this is all about money. These preferred vendors are getting part of the money being released by the state and federal government for each disaster. In turn, some of the vendors make it on the list because a friend gets them on the list, and in return for getting ridiculously outlandish amounts of compensation for the services they render, they give back kickbacks to the people that allowed them to be on that list. And who are the people that allow them to be on that list, ladies and gentlemen, other than government bureaucrats? So accepting outside donations, even though they are on location and that can help people on the now, they would rather let people suffer. They would rather let you suffer so they can make their few cents. Don't forget that government is there for government. If this does not prove it to you, if you cannot see with your eyes what's going on, that they will let you suffer so that they can make their ounce of gold. And the next time that this happens in your area, I hope that you are ready. I hope that you're prepared to some extent. Let's see. This meeting solidified my resolve to help people more, regardless of what the greedy officials wanted. We were going to feed the lower keys that were being neglected. I diverted all semi-trucks to the Faro Blanco Resort in Marathon and filled the entire first floor with pallets upon pallets of food, water, and essential supplies, and created a food pantry for residents to come and get anything and however much they needed. Do you think that the government is going to do that? The government will give you just enough for you to stay hungry, ladies and gentlemen, just like they leave you just enough in your paycheck for you to stay poor. From local state troopers to the homeless, all were given wheelbarrows and free rein to get anything they needed. We also delivered supplies down to Big Pine Key. We helped establish the tent city on Big Pine Key as well. And he says that big companies like Tito's Vodka and Whalen just kept bringing trucks full of everything that was needed. When FEMA finally started handing out boxes of canned goods, when they finally started, ladies and gentlemen, they would only limit them to 1 box per household. We were filling cars full of food and supplies for people and pets. Who do you want to put your faith in most when something like this happens? Yes, I understand. God first and foremost. Absolutely. Because you have to give thanks that you're still alive, even in this kind of a horrific situation. But do you want to put your faith for the material things that you need in order to continue to live on this earth in the physical form to government, who's giving you 1 box of crap that you don't even want and limiting you to 1 box per household? Or to your fellow Americans that care about you? You better be depending on yourself, and you better make sure that you have a community around you that will work together. And he goes on to finish by saying, there is so much more to the story in the Keys, and further from there in other storms we worked. The common theme, though, is that the federal government always tries to keep citizens from helping, and the local authorities, the ones that live and work in the area, are always happy to have outside help. You know, ladies and gentlemen, this story really got to me, because I see what's happening in the East Coast and those areas affected by floods and things like that. I mean, it's been devastating. I see that happening to our country. Not the same thing that's happening there per se, but something that's just as devastating, where people need help. And there's not enough people in our nation that are prepared for what's coming, let alone prepared to help those that aren't even aware of what's coming. Yes, what's coming, AP? Go ahead and name it. Anything you want to name it. There are so many things, so many probabilities that have a high chance of happening. Our finances, the BRICS nations decoupling from the SWIFT system and therefore making the dollar devalued by 50% overnight, or even over 6 months would be catastrophic. Ladies and gentlemen, WW3 going off and nuclear ballistic missiles being used, etc., etc., etc. Who's going to be there for you if you're not there for yourselves? And if you prepare ahead of time, and if you prepare enough, and you have blessings in order to prepare more than you need, then you will be one of these people that can help your fellow brother, fellow sister right there in the community that you live, and not have to wait for FEMA to come in with their little box of charity that will leave you just wanting more instead of satisfying your true needs. That won't leave you waiting for some bureaucrat to say, okay, my company is getting in there first, okay, so hold off everything that's going in, that's been donated, so that my company can get there first and they can get their contract fulfilled for the millions of dollars that they take from you. Now, having said that, let me go ahead and talk a little bit about this Prime Day sale that's going on. I'm not going to go into specifics. I'll probably go ahead and put out a Prime Day sale video, maybe early this week or so, right before Prime Day starts. I do know that OUPES is going to be having some really good deals, and they're going to have a flash sale that's going to last, I believe, a couple of days. Now, let me tell you what. I was looking at all the people that ordered the Mega 1, and I think they made a great choice. I think that the OUPES Mega 1 is, I used to say that the Mega 2 was my favorite, but man, the Mega 1 is so versatile, it's priced so well, and it can almost do everything that the Mega 2 can do without that 30 amp outlet that it's got, AC outlet that it's got, and it can go up to like 2,000 watts of continuous output, where the Mega 2 can go up to like 2,500. But if you're looking for something that's a little bit bigger, that's going to take care of multiple things around your house, or even if you're looking for something that's a little bit smaller, OUPES has a solar generator, or some people like to call them battery backup systems, that's going to fit anyone's needs. In addition to that, take a look at what's going on right now in reference, to the story that I just read to you. Make sure that you have some kind of water filtration, water purification, because only because there's water everywhere, because everything's flooding, doesn't mean that that water is good for you to use. And more than likely, when everything is flooding, the water that's coming out of your sink, ladies and gentlemen, that's not going to be potable either. So make sure that you have a way to purify your water. And for that, I always send you to SIMPURE, because they have great prices on great products, and you also have a coupon code that I provide that will save you up to 21% on things that they haven't already aggressively marked down. Take a look at Nutrient Survival. It is only the very best in freeze-dried food, period. There's nothing better. Go ahead and show me something that is. Go ahead and take a look at all of my other links, like hybrid lights, flashlights that are going to last you a lifetime, but they're not going to empty out your pocket. I have a 20% coupon code for that always. And these lights, ladies and gentlemen, they're going to keep a charge for up to 7 years. So once you fully charge these, if you want to go ahead and put these away and put them in a closet or something, they're going to keep a full charge for 7 years, ladies and gentlemen. And they take a beating and they keep on working. In addition to that, I'll leave the link to the other AP community partners if you want to take a look at them as well. Having said that, I hope that you have a great weekend. Beautiful day out here in Alaska. We're supposed to have 2 very nice days during the weekend, nice and sunny, clear skies, and the auroras are supposed to be out really nice tonight because of those solar storms that we had, and the solar winds are incoming. Other than that, I probably made this video way too long. I want to say thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen, for all of your support. I may or may not have a live stream tomorrow, but if I do, I'll try to post it at least an hour or so prior so that you can get a notification. God bless every one of you. God bless America always. I'm Alaska Prepper. I am out.